Okay, so we've implemented the navigation in the last video, which was fairly long-winded, but it's good to explain these things. We're now going to go ahead and add this hero unit in, and this is the big, this is what Bootstrap calls this big full width thing with the header, the little teaser, and then the button. So you'll find this on most sites. So how do we implement this? Well, it's all set up for us, obviously. That's the point of using this framework. So I'm just going to come down a few lines and sort of mark this up. So this isn't within our main site container, which is what we're going to look at in the next part of the video. We're going to sort of tie that in with the fluid grid system. But this is just a full width, so we don't need it to be contained in any way. And this is just a div. And the class is just hero-unit. Oops. There we go. So now what we can do is we can use a header, a paragraph, and then a button to actually include some data here. So let's go ahead and do this. So I'm going to create a header. And I'm going to say, here's a fancy headline. Let's take a little preview of this. Lovely. Okay, we'll look at a problem with this in just a moment. And we'll sort of fix that up. But the paragraph underneath, we'll just say, let me paste this in to save time. There we go. And then down here, we're going to create another paragraph. And we're going to have a button in here. And we'll say get started or something like that. There we go. So we'll add the classes to that in just a moment. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh. And there we go. So we've got this hero unit. The first problem we've got is if I inspect this hero unit, you see the green part just that I've selected. That's telling me that starts at the very top of the document. Now the reason for this is because we've got our header here fixed to the top, and therefore it's in the stacking order of things, it's sort of away from the rest of our page contents. So this is overlapping the hero unit. So what we need to do is we need to go ahead and pull up the bootstrap.css file and actually modify this slightly. So let's go ahead and just drag this over. And let's go ahead and do a search for body. Here we go. So we've got margin set to 0. But if we just take a look at the body a bit lower down in this CSS file. I don't know where it'd be actually. Let's have a look through this. Oh no, sorry, it would be in the responsive style sheet. There we go. So we've got this media query here. We're saying that for the maximum width of 979 pixels, the body and the padding top should be 0. Now that's fine, but before that, and we'll see why this media query exists in a minute. Before that, we want a padding top of the height of our navigation. So anything under the navigation falls under the navigation rather than behind it. So if I'm going to say 40 pixels, because that's the height of the navigation. So now when I refresh, you see this comes down a bit. And when I inspect it, you can see that the green stops just under where the navigation is, which means that this is coming after it. Now, if I go ahead and resize this, a bad thing would be that if we push this down too far. So I know we've got this padding here, but that's natural. But if we look, let's open this a bit. If we look at body now, we see that the padding top is 0, which is absolutely fine because the nature of the way that this scales and properties that are set, we don't need that anymore. If we weren't to have this, let's just go ahead and change this. Well, we'll just get rid of it temporarily. Then we would have this problem here. So we'll see that it's fine there, and then when we get to that media query, it just pops everything down again. So we don't want that at that certain media query. So now that we've done that, we have implemented our hero unit, but we've not created our fancy button. So let's go ahead and create this now. Now, I've just created an anchor, but I am going to apply a class to this. Now, as we've already looked, the generic class for button is btn, but this isn't going to do because it gives us a small grey button. We want a large blue button. So I'm going to say btn primary. That's going to set that to that lovely blue colour that we saw. Lovely. And then I'm also going to change the size. So I'm going to say btn large. Now you can also do btn xx large, I think. Oh no, you can't. Maybe X large? Oh no, you can't. What a shame. So we'll just keep this as BTN large. I think I'm thinking of something else. So we've got this lovely large button, this lovely large smooth header, the paragraph underneath it, and our header now. And it all scales down rather nicely and then gives us a responded change to the site. So the next part, we're going to look at creating the main container. We're going to look at the grid system, and then we're going to implement some content and start to play around.